Following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
My name is Inigo Montoya, who killed my father. Prepare to die. It's classic. Come on. It's genius.
It's genius. He's meeting us. We're all down here at the Man Cave. And of course, we have got our special guest who is meeting us here in the Man Cave. That's right. Brad Sterling, a.k.a. Gristle Box.
Mr. Gristle, thank you for joining us, sir. We are very privileged.
Very privileged. Of course, Brad, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, I'm going to let everybody out there know, please catch this video. I know you'll enjoy our audio podcast over on Apple, Spotify, et cetera, Podbeam, but you got to check this out. You got to check out the visuals here on YouTube. Subscribe. And of course, over at Rumble, where you want to follow us. And Chris, what is going on Discord?
Not a whole lot. I mean, people have the link, right?
It's always available in the description box. We got the link where they can click on it to find us so they don't have to search. Even if you want to find Jake Patton, an Eye for Horror, that is always going to be down there. And Brad, we are going to have, we're going to have Brad's information in this description box for this particular, I think it's episode 26, aka Gristle Box. So Chris, fire it away. I'm going to follow up some questions, but I know you're dying to ask this gentleman some questions here on this.
Man, where to begin? Maybe we should ease into things. What the fuck are you drinking over there?
What the fuck you drinking?
Nothing right now.
Nothing right now?
Right here.
See, smart. We are not smart. Distill Brewery, and it's called Driving That Hazy IPA. Like the dude though, he's a little biker guy with a little beard there. But they're called Deadhead IPAs, and
it's the marketing on the can, right? They got you.
Yes. I consider myself somewhat of a biker, I guess. Not really, but I get to live out my fantasy. Very cloudy, but it's delicious.
Yeah, Brad, here in Ohio, we have our Ohio River where it's not very clear, and that makes us happy, I guess. Chris, you've stated that a few episodes ago how you prefer your beverages.
I like the guts, man. I like it all turned up in there. I don't want to be able to see through it. I don't like triple filtered, all that crap. Like
so, what do you
stuff?
So how's that shit smell?
Smells like an IPA.
Smells like an IPA.
Oh yeah.
All right.
No citrus going on. No nothing like that. It's just straight up beer.
All right.
You're working hard over there.
Yeah, it's got some serious, which is probably a good thing. Another bottle I have that I have not had yet. But when it comes to an IPA, Chris, I know you've had this, but this is something I've not had yet. It's Seeing Colors.
Oh yes.
This is not something that let me make sure. Seeing Colors. I don't know why I do that because I always usually put up a little. But yeah. Let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, Mad Tree Brewing. By the way, Brad, we usually go with some local beers around here and all that. With you being in California, is it upstate or more like an upstate, or do you like Napa Valley area or anything like that? Am I even close?
No, I mean, it's north of that. It's north of Sacramento. It's actually Roseville area. It's kind of a nice area.
Okay.
Reminds me of a small town in Texas where I used to live. Everything's really well manicured, clean, a lot of new. Everything's really kept real nice. So everyone is nice. So really different than other parts of California.
Wow.
that I've lived in.
I've heard that about Texas. And in all seriousness, there's like small towns there where everybody's just like super nice and all that. So, Chris, you probably, if you haven't had this shit, you probably like it because there's some floaters in this stuff right here.
I've had that quite a many a times.
Do you recall floaters in this stuff?
Floaters?
Yeah. I don't think the quality of even this camera of mine's going to show it, especially as
looks delicious.
I have it on manual focus. So, well, let's see what we got going on here. It smells like it's like our beers that we have here. It doesn't smells like a thick citrus, an oaky afterbirth.
Jesus, that's oof.
This tastes a lot like the last beer I just had. I mean, the last podcast. Yeah. It does. I like it. I mean, it's not bad. It's not like, that blinding light or that, which my local, there's that Ray's drive-through, Chris, right around the corner from where I live.
Oh yeah.
I could buy that Elvis juice in a 12-pack in there. I'm like, well, damn. Since I really liked it.
Story about Ray's. I used to work at, my uncle used to own that Subbies right there.
Yeah.
And, pretty much every time I used to be a manager over there, and each time I'd go into work, it would be weekends, of course, because I was still in school. But yeah, definitely stopped into that Ray's because I knew a few people that worked there, and they used to give me fifths of Lawrence screwdrivers, and God. Head right over to work, and man, we used to get pretty drunk in the freezer back there. We had a few drunken sandwiches we had to make during the night, and man, put this way, they call Subway sandwich artists, right? We were not sandwich artists. Like, we missed all types of shit.
Now, Brad, you probably have noticed in the past with this podcast of ours where we meet in the man cave, I even before this started, I have this issue with double fisting, right? That's how I am. Well, not only am I, what the fuck are you drinking? Whatever IPA that was, I forget at this point. I'll give it it's just your average IPA, nothing with some floaters. I'm actually starting also with the new Jameson. I've never had this black barrel before.
Ooh.
And I love my Jameson Irish whiskey, especially that orange. It's hard for me to not have my Jameson orange. Sometimes you just got to say, fuck it. And then we got a cork. Let's do a little ASMR. Good timing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, that Seeing Colors, I'll fill that in. It's a Mad Tree beer, right?
Yes.
Mad Tree Brewing. Down in Cincinnati, too. They got a really nice facility, a nice brewing facility there. I took a little tour of that one, too.
Is it off of Montgomery? Off Montgomery Road?
I don't remember. It's real close to the highway. I remember that.
This is a triple distilled Jameson. Jameson, come on. You never done me wrong before. This is first time, black barrel. And you continue to make love to me every time I sip on you.
Oh, Lord.
I love my Jameson.
Oh, my.
So I'm a happy camper right now. Enough about our what the fuck are you drinking? I know we couldn't show Brad. We actually talked about the show before we started recording. It's illegal in most states, so we'll just have to trust that what Brad's drinking, that, and he doesn't want to destroy his new flooring. We'll just stick with it. So, yeah, illegal alcohol. That was like back in the 1920s.
Playing jokes on us. There's really vodka in there, isn't there? Come on, Brad. You can tell me.
There's potato liquor in there. So there we go. Brad, I'm going to have my partner in crime start off by firing away some questions here. So, Chris, be gentle with some softball questions here on this.
Softball questions. Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, something I've always wondered. Tell me, please, really the origin, how you got into the whole Gristle Box thing, where that came from, and maybe how you started out there. Was it a tough process, or was it What kind of learning curves did you have with that?
Well, it was several years back. Um, you know, uh, I started seeing all these really cool independent artists for, Myers Mass. Well, first, I mean, way back when, being a horror movie fan, I always liked Halloween or loved it. And, I think I made my first Myers Mask was like out of paper mache or something. It's pretty funny. But, just going through, and I think Boogeyman Mask was another one I had way back in the day. And I ended up selling that. But today's indie artists, they're so good with all these sculpts, and there's a ton of them, right? There's a ton of H1 sculpts out there, for example. And when you see that, when you see a great looking Myers Mask, and I would argue that, these, this is going to, people are going to like, oh, how could you say that? But some of these indie masks, they're probably better than any of the ones that were ever used in the movie, as far as quality and care and time and effort being put into them. Because the one in the movie was really flimsy, and that's why it changed shape a lot, right? Because it would just move. It wasn't very thick, but when you see a great Myers mask and you see brand new coveralls with creases in them, and right out of the package, I just thought that when I saw people wearing that, or for whatever, I don't know what you would see it on Halloween, you would see it in a convention, and I'm like, I don't get that. You just ruin the mask, right?
Yeah.
Because you have this great mask and it has even weathering to the mask, and then the coveralls, they're just right out of the package, and it just, to me, it kills the whole effort. So I just, it was a personal effort, really, for myself. First, I think if you're not really even wearing coveralls that much, and there's so many out there, you're like, well, I don't know first you got to find out what they were, and if they're discontinued and I can't find them, what's the closest thing out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and you got to go through that process. You don't know what size you are, you change shape, there's that too. It took me a while to find, a coverall. At first, Sears, the vintage, okay, it just seemed impossible. What's the next? And I went through all these different ones. And obviously the red cap was was a very cheap, easily accessible coverall, and it was the same 65-35 polycotton blend as all the vintage Sears. It weathers and stains just as good as them. So then I started going, okay, well, all this thing does is basic. I mean, it didn't have the elastic band and that kind of stuff, so people could argue about that, right? But you could also say, well, if Myers stole it from some big guy, it's probably all stretched out anyway, right? So let's not worry about that, right? It was an oversized guy. He was just a normal man size. He wasn't Rob Zombie size, right? So the coveralls, if they weather and stain just like the Sears, I just started, figuring out good kind of recipe concoctions with all the textile paints. And because I noticed that some people, I'm jumping around a little bit, but they, some people would use acrylics or they spray paint type for quick weathering type solutions, but that stiffens the fabric. Mm-hmm. And I've actually bought some textiles from other people, more for just kind of see what they're doing. They seem pretty cool. Also, it's good to see what they're doing and kind of get ideas too. But when and I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to disparage anybody, but there have been some people that I've bought textiles from, and they literally would reek of paint. It just smell. And then there's other places where it still smelled, but not as bad. And then they tell you can't wash it. Mm. And there's people that live in hot climates. They're going to sweat for whatever reason, or if they're wearing it or whatever. And if they take a photo op with somebody and they really smell really nasty because they can't ever wash, that's going to be the last photo op that person wants with them. Yeah. But and so you got to wash them, right? So you got to figure out, well, I can't be like those people, because when I did wash their textiles, they didn't look the same after that, and I had to do a lot of repair work. Trying different textile paints, seeing what works best, thinning things down, making your own recipes with the different colors, kind of blending in different ones, and then keeping it with a shelf life. So I'll just tell you, I mean, I use distilled water because, you want things to have a shelf life. So when I put them in different containers, when I make my own recipes, and there's like darks to browns to light browns to sand color to tan color, there's white, there's all sorts of colors that I'll use. So they'll stay on the shelf forever until I, want to use them pretty much. And then I kind of blend in the colors. So it's a natural kind of degrade, and I heat cure it in. I'll wash it, and I'll do the process again. Basically, my process is a process that no one wants to go through, because they would go, forget, I'll just hire it done, because I don't have that time. I don't have all that kind of stuff set up already. And so it's taken a while to get to that level where I have everything ready to go, all the tools, all the stuff, and I can kind of do my process and kind of have it a natural weathering and staining. So it's really weathered and stained, and it looks, to me, a natural look, and the material stays soft. And if you can wash it, but I prefer people, because there's different detergents, there's different kind of washing machines, there's different kind of levels on a washing machine people might use, sanitize, I don't know. But if you just put it, I say when I give out my brochure, is to use a 5-gallon bucket, put a little bit of detergent in that, and mix it around, or let it fill up so it's all sudsy. Then you kind of turn the coveralls inside out. You kind of dip it in, swirl it around. Basically, you want to just zap and kill that bacteria, right? Especially if you've been sweating. Then you hang it up, and then you lightly rinse it off with a hose and kind of hang dry it outside. But that's just kind of, and it's worked great for me, for all my stuff. I tested out all my stuff, and no degrade. I mean, it looks just as good as it did before I washed it when it's dry again.
I got a quick question on that before we go anything else. Let's say, as I'm listening to this right now, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'll try that, but I don't have time. What if I'm somebody that takes my clothes to the dry cleaners? Mm-hmm. Would you shy away from that possibly, or have you even attempted that, or even thought?
I have not actually attempted that, but I would say if you keep them turned inside out and you let them know, hey, you see this staining, I want to kind of keep that. They usually have a game plan that they'll go with right there. But if they don't think they can do it, they'll let you know right then and there.
Okay.
That would just be my suggestion. Just say, look, I want to keep this, and you bring it turned inside out and just kind of show them.
Okay.
And Chris,
that's very cool. I didn't. Yeah, I have noticed that I haven't ordered from anyone else. I pretty much order from you exclusively, but I don't know if people worry about the whole cleaning aspect.
It makes a lot of sense.
So I mean, I commend that, because you've obviously put thought into that and how people could do it. I'll be honest, you probably don't want to smell mine. I've never washed them.
You were talking about that over my left shoulder. It's in the background. I have a portrait where I'm actually standing next to Nick Castle. So I'm thinking, like what you described, if I was to actually cosplaying, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm meeting Nick Castle the first time. What if I'm wearing something that smell like that paint?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't want to upset Nick Castle. This is the first time I'm meeting him. It's not a very good impression.
But Nick being the guy,
or have him go.
Sorry, go ahead.
Or have Nick Castle go, this is my last year I'm doing this. I can't take this anymore.
And I ruined it for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Nick would probably just be like, I know exactly what you're going through right now. As many times before.
You think about, like, Because I'm standing next to Nick's castle at the time, like, oh my God, I'm the exact same height as Michael Myers.
Yeah.
So you talk about, Nick Castle, when he was wearing those coveralls, he was just, I can remember when I was, that age, how I was nothing but skin and bones. Remember how it was, Brad? You could eat anything you want, not gain a pound or whatever. And I just envisioning those coveralls and all that. And I've seen where Chris and I have done this podcast here where he was trying on some of the coveralls that he had purchased from you, and they looked absolutely fantastic. Of course, he has photos from the past from wearing them, all that. And
Man,
I'm just countering all that stuff that we take for granted, being clean, all that, everything. That's fantastic. People who are watching, listening right now, think about that. If you're wanting to have some coveralls to go with your mask, especially cosplay, that's some serious stuff you got to take in for granted. Especially, I mean, I don't know. I imagine you're not paying $20 for a pair of coveralls, just like your mask. You care about this stuff,
right?
And you want the quality to be great,
right?
Can't beat the combo of at least to me. That's my ideal combo is a WMP and a Gristle Box, man.
But and your H6 coverall that you got.
Yeah.
What last year? I mean, what'd you think of that? I mean, I saw that. Seemed like you liked it, but I mean, when you wear it, and you kind of go out and do something, or kind of wear it for a while, then you can kind of get a different feel for it.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, I got very drunk that night. People could go back and watch that podcast, but man,
I edited it to where you didn't look that way. Shh, be quiet.
Hey, I am a fallible man. I got very drunk that night, but thank God I didn't get anything on it. They are comfortably put away.
It was a fun podcast.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. I have that and the
sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Fool's Gold as well, which I mean, those are amazing. The Fool's Gold, the H ones.
Yeah. I don't. I forgot why I called them that now, but that
was gonna be my next question. Where did that originate?
I don't call them that anymore.
Oh, okay.
I just and again so my versions, and I won't get into how I was trying to work with the manufacturer.
What does Fool's Gold represent, real quick? What does it represent?
Well, Fool's Gold, right, is supposed to fool you that it's actually gold, right? So the whole concept originally was it was supposed to fool you like it was, some vintage coverall kind of, because it was close to it. It was converted, had the pocket flap. It had, I don't know if it's supposed to have the button snap. I don't know if I was doing that then. I mean, this is way back because when you mentioned that, it was way back.
I was going to say, I've got some JCPenney's Big Macs as a visual. I don't know if that'll help. But as you're talking about, I was thinking about that. So, Chris, you grab, you know what? You're not about JC. Yeah, Chris, if you could grab yours, I think this is a better representative, if you know what I mean. To hell with that Big Mac shit. Now that I know exactly what I want to ask here while he's doing this. I am definitely nowhere size-wise that I used to be. I'm insecure about, my weight. Have you, okay, let's say I'm contacting you. I'm sure this has had to happen before, or it will happen again. You have a customer that DMs you on your social media or your email or whatever. Well, we'll get into that in this podcast, by the way, folks, so how you could contact Brad, a.k.a. Gristle Box. And, of course, that'll be in the description box. But I'm an overweight guy, and I want some, and we'll get into that too. What do you properly call it? But some overalls, coveralls, and all that. Do you have, what would you tell a customer we're all different sizes and shapes, but do you have anything that kind of helps someone say, hey, look, I've got some, don't worry about it. I also have them in this size. We just obviously don't know how tall you are. Does any of this make any sense? Like, hey, I'm a big guy. Can I get coveralls that look good?
Hard.
Well, it's, what beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess, right? I mean, if you think you look good, and if you really love your little getup or whatever you have. I mean, that's really up to you. But other people, as in the Myers community, they can be super critical.
Yeah.
And
Chris is showing off. Which ones are you showing off right now? Is this the H6, by the way?
No, I do have those though.
Oh, okay. I'm just going by my. Sorry, folks, who are watching right now. I'm just going through my window how I'm seeing them. That's an H1.
These are the.
Ooh, and this is I would think a good question, Brad. Yes. H1, as we all know, what would you recommend to a customer right now that's wanting to buy some H1s, other than what you're seeing, what Chris is holding right now? They're like, hey, Brad, I want to get some coveralls H1. What color would you recommend that I should invest into?
Oh, is it the green versus blue debate?
Sure. I remember those are so fun. Because I always say in the dark alley they look all the same pretty much. But
yeah, you got to get these questions. I'm assuming.
Of course. Okay, so as you know, I have. There's other people that do coverall work and other things out there. There's people will say it's text green. You go to H2, it's spruce green. You go but if you've seen the text green, it can look charcoal gray. If you get charcoal gray, if you get charcoal gray for H1, it's fine. I mean, if you're on an economy, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you want to get a red cap, charcoal gray, it's fine. You just need to have that pocket flap on there. So It's funny that I've seen a lot of people and they try to do their own pocket flaps, or they have a pocket flap and it flips up, and that's hey, you're just getting started. But the way I do it, and I do it myself, I don't have anyone else do it. Like some other people, they have other people do it for them, which is fine. But I have vintage trade wares, I have vintage here, and I just copy that. I've also taken other pocket flaps apart. I've seen how they do it. I have a well-equipped sewing machine. By the way, that's a fun story too, because I never thought I would be sewing anything. And that's a pretty good skill in itself. But I craft these just like they were done at the factory. If you were to buy a red cap, okay, and I were to convert it for you, I will sew that pocket flap on like it came like that, like the little flap. So I guess that's kind of cool. But the thing about it is, so here's right. I had other people where they will buy coveralls. There's another. I don't want to say competitor because we do different things. He actually has a lot of replicas. I think you guys know who this is, right? He has really he has quite a little thing going. Good for him, good for the community, right? It's he makes these replicas of, and he's gone through different versions because, a lot of them, like anybody, if they're doing something, maybe it's not perfect the first time. But that's how people learn. Oh, look this is my first mask I've done. This is my first sculpt I've done. He has replicas that he does. They're not perfect to the original, but they're pretty close. And no one else is doing what he's doing, so that's good. But I've had people buy from him, and they will send me the coveralls. So I've been more like, I don't really do that many H1s now.
You really don't do it? Okay.
No. I haven't done that many because what happens is they will buy his coveralls. Some will send them to me. So what I'm doing a lot is weathering and staining them for them because they like my process. They love his coveralls because, yes, they could get a red cap, but the red cap they lack a few things that his H1 has: a tall collar, the elastic waistband that looks real nice, and he's actually done a version 2 that is even better than the version 1, in my opinion. Vintage trade wares are hard to find. They're really good. The version 2 has a boot cut, There are things that need to be done though. His come all in long though. There are people that are regular size. They're not tall. They may be 5'10" and 5'9". That's a problem with. So if they get his replicas, he has to get their measurements and he has to hem them and adjust them. I've done that for some people as well. So it's just really who you like doing business with, and I think it's good to have a choice,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Right? I mean, you may like Toyota and Honda. You may like this model of Toyota, this model of Honda. You may have one of each because you kind of like both of them. But it's good to have different
Chris
players.
wouldn't know anything about
This
that.
is it. This
Yeah, I know he has a fast Honda.
this
right?
is actually an interesting topic that I really want your
Yeah.
feedback on.
It's that mannequin back
Yeah.
there. I had to make sure I ordered, these were cheap coveralls I ordered on eBay. I forget the name of the brand. I have to go back here and look. And when you talk about sizes, man, it makes a huge difference. If you get it too short, it looks silly on that mannequin is like 6'2.5", right? And it looked a little bit too, I'm not talking about the length from the leg, but from the waistline, it just looks off. So this stuff is very crucial, important.
Oh yeah,
from what you're talking about.
Oh, I learned a lot just also through the years of just, I call them the Michael Myers scientists. They come out and they're with their, I say magnifying glass, but they're not. That's figurative speech there. It's all the little nuances with things. Some people want the hole in the back. Some people don't. I'm talking about an H1. People getting out their 4K videos or whatever, and then they're going, hey, look, I want that degrade in the top of the leg and in that, the cuff sleeve. I want some strands hanging out. I mean, it's just amazing. Some people don't want any holes because they're not seeing that much.
I'm learning that even with guitars right now, believe it or not. I'm not going to get, but there are people like with the replica of Frankenstein that I just bought. Well, that doesn't look. Oh, God, I went through this with Michael Myers mask, so I'm going with the Frankenstein guitar. and Brad, I don't want to interrupt you, Chris. I could tell he was about ready to ask.
I just wanted his viewpoint on this. I think it might be interesting. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, please just tell me. But I just wondered the correlation with, say, we know how much drama can be in these masks. Artist to artist, how they interact with each other, whether they get mad, this, that, and the other. I kind of wanted to hear from the coverall side. Is it peaceful? Is there ever any drama with you guys? Is there any problems, or is it a different lane?
I'd say probably maybe up until last year, to me, it's been very tangible of the fierce competition as far as, but it's not like you have a lot of mask makers, but there wasn't a lot of coverall makers, right? I mean, I'll just talk about it because, I don't think a lot of people get to hear it. I didn't see too many people making the weathered, stained up coveralls, Michael Myers style, H2, H1. I didn't see it. That's why I started doing it. Okay. And then all of a sudden, there may have been some people that did a few of them here and there, but I was really trying to, hey, I'm offering this and doing it as a service. And then, other people start doing stuff and, they want to, people will have their people in their court saying, hey, you're the best. I always hate the term GOAT. I always, or, seriously, it really bothers me. GOAT and screen accurate.
Oh,
I just, because you're telling me you were on set and you're at the movie with the production crew on set, every blemish, every nuance on that is screen accurate. Right. So you just basically told a lie.
And I always bring up the fact that you have different actors and a stunt man. We'll simplify it. Let's say okay, Brad, you're playing the Michael Myers character, right? In the new Halloween movie. But you need a stunt man or, he is going to have obviously a different pair of coveralls. There's going to be some differences there, whether it's the exact same color or not. And your bodies are sorry.
If you see the Ends movie that everyone has a big debate about, if you look, if you have the DVD or you're on set or the person that was working on the coveralls, they had like a whole slew of them for the movie, and they were different. So when someone goes, "I want it to look just like Ends," well, okay, which part of the movie? Because there's so many different ones, right? I mean,
oh man,
hallway scene.
I could show you several pictures where they look different, and like some of the pant legs, they don't have a lot of grime on it, and then they're the back of the pockets that look like they sat in mud. So I mean, you just never know,
right?
God, makes me think of people that do makeup with hair, and throughout movie history. Right. Oh my God. This is a rabbit hole that can be very deep.
I can only imagine how many of those you get.
Right.
Wow.
Not to plug Meet Us in the Man Cave, but I got to say, I forgot to say it in our last pot. But Chris, I really like the green on your shirt. Meet Us in the Man Cave apparel available now. Get your very own Meet Us in the Man Cave house, boat, car, child, guitar, batteries, dishes, household apparel, kitchen apparel, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, shower curtains, phone cases. Oh, the list could go on and on and on. Isn't that right, Chris?
Question. Can I do it with my butt cheeks?
Meet Us in the Man Cave apparel available right now at redbubble.com. Remember, only a few of those items are available, including hats. Sorry, Brad. I didn't say it the last time, but I like the color on it. Go ahead. We're talking about clothing here. I didn't mean to interrupt. Ha ha. But no, Brad, this is really fun. It is. I'm dead friggin' serious with all the masks as a Meyer fan from the H1 of all the different ones to the ends. Coveralls. Wow. There's just so many shapes, so many sides. So you've got more issues, I think, with coveralls than masks.
Man.
I didn't even think about the smells, the odors, and all that. That is,
I mean, it is. It's different from the mask in a lot of ways. First of all, there's a lot more material you have to go over. Front, back, but I'm not.
What's that on the shoulder again? With that, like, you know what I'm talking about? That indentation on the what the hell is that called? I'm thinking of my Big Macs that I have hanging up in the closet. I mean, I don't know if there is a name for it, but there's like another.
I can't even. I don't know why I'm thinking I should know this. I'll think of it afterwards. Of course, it'll be too late.
How common is that on all the coveralls that? In general, I mean, do people like? Do they like? Oh my God, it doesn't have that. I want that. I'm just visualizing that right now. When you mention the collar, the pocket, does it have?
They don't all have
is
that.
It like
they don't. The vintage Sears don't.
Oh, really? Okay.
The Dickies brand for the H6 has it. Of course, the red caps, which I consider a kind of a knockoff economy version that can be converted into H1 or H2. But let me just real quick go back to
talk about this.
Sure. Hey, Chris, could you bring that closer to your microphone right now? Just because I'm lazy and I can't get that adjusted.
Like
yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I don't know what that, because I'm terrible. I wear T-shirts and shorts most of the year round, so I'm terrible at names with the proper. But it just seems like as if someone who's, Brad, you and I, and Chris, of course, H1, to me, that's what I always go to. Laziness, call it what you want or whatever. But I always see, I'm going to say Nick Castle, the shape. I always, there's times I see that, and I don't know how many other Halloween movies have had that on the coveralls, how important that's been to others. I don't know if I'm like going too
So I
deep
guess like
here
the
or not,
question is,
but
Maybe you just like it.
what's
I don't
your
know.
most heard one? Like, what's the one that like everybody must have? No,
The
the
collar?
feature say that they want included.
That's hard to say because I mean it's all over the map. I mean you have diehard Halloween 2 fans. You know, and
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
the Halloween 1 and 2 kind of go together. I very very little
That's what,
Halloween 5. Although they're fun to do up,
yeah.
but and then you know Halloween 6 not as common as you know. Even though I know there's a lot of people that love Halloween 6, it's not. I love doing the Halloween 6 coveralls because they're fun to do and they look really good when they're
The
done.
shotgun in the
And they
shoulder,
look different than the
the way
rest.
you do that, man, it looks good. With the
I forgot, was that the one I did for you?
no, I have the one
I
that
guess
was
we did.
just plain, no
Right.
shot.
This is weathered and
Yeah.
stained, yeah. There's some people that just want it weathered and stained. So here's the other thing. So I figure Gristle Box, Gristle, whatever.
Yeah.
I can go back to how the name was formed in a second if you guys
Sure.
care. But
Please do.
if you see the H6 coverall that you had, the way I stained it and everything, of course, okay, so that would never be screen accurate, right? So they'd be like, oh, well, what? But it would be like a real world weathering type of scenario because that's where all the degrade would happen. In the sleeves, the waist area, the pant legs, some back elements, some arm elements. And if I were to make it just like the movie, to me, it would be kind of somewhat boring. I wanted to make it look more like, dare I say, it should have been. That's a pretty bold statement. But honestly, the kind of work I put into this stuff as far as weathering and staining, they did not do that for the movies. I'm not going to say the Blumhouse trilogy stuff. That's a separate conversation. But any of the ones pre that, they did not put in the effort.
You know, you saying that, Brad, I can't help but think of someone that knows enough about lighting, that knows enough about videography, cinematography. When they create scenes for what we see on the film or on the big screen or on your luxury of your own home, and like even like with lighting, what Chris and I do for our own backgrounds for this podcast, we'll overdo it to oversaturate or make things more bright. Like right now, it may seem like if you're watching me right now on this podcast, it may seem kind of warm or just settle. But really, all in all, there's a very bright light back there that I'm doing that to separate myself from the background. With the coveralls that you're talking about there, they may actually have certain parts that have weathering of blood or that are overdone just to make it look good on the big screen. So as a fan that's not very familiar with cinematography or lighting, you may get that confused of what Brad has to do is make something that makes you feel that sweet spot in between. I want it to look accurate, but if you get accuracy, you may be disappointed because it's going to be completely different what they create on the screen to what Brad's giving you to make it look for cosplay to make it look good.
That's a fine
So
line.
Brad, I applaud you. What you got to do is very difficult because I've seen Chris's even in person and they look natural. It looks clean, even though it's supposed to look dirty.
Yeah, you know, that's another thing.
So,
in the movie, you can disguise things. You can have certain lighting. It can be dark or whatever. But if you get these coveralls and you're going into a convention that's well lit, or it's a day and it's not at night, and you get up close to someone, you want it to look kind of, cause apprehension, I guess, especially if a lot of people, they work at a haunt and they get up close to people and there's bright lights, sometimes with a camera or a photo op, and they see all the detail. And there's some people, if it's really dark, obviously that goes out the window. But if just the ability, if there is a possibility of seeing it, you want it to look kind of like, you know what, you look a little bit too real for me to get that close to you.
Speaking of too real,
Mhm.
not to change. Well, no, we're on the same subject. I noticed that you have Friday the 13th as well. Do you specialize, or are you working with also the concept of the Jason Voorhees shirt? Yeah, the whatever, the button down. I'm going to say Friday the 13th,
So,
part 3.
you know, I had the vintage. I had all the vintage Jason shirts. I have kind of gotten rid of them right now. But the you know, the Dickies brand, it comes real close. You just, to me, you have to cut and shape the bottom. I just want to, you know, I do the clothing for I'll because it's a coverall, I'll do part 5, right? So that's a no brainer. The burns, spruce green, red caps, easy, damaged or undamaged.
So once again, we're talking about Jason Voorhees, correct? Because there might be some fans that just learned
Roy
something
Byrne.
from you right there.
Yeah, knockoff
what you just
Jason is
said.
part 5, right? So, but
Okay.
part 3,
Okay.
part 4, part 5, part 6. I haven't really done any part 6 because other people, I don't know, I just haven't had any. They think I'm just a Meyer shop, but I will say, so there's another, I'll do a plug out for someone else. Says Horror FX Design. There's a guy out there. He does Instagram. I like all his posts, and he does a lot of different kinds of stuff. He does props and stuff. I got a double bladed axe from him one time for a Jason get up I was doing, and all his stuff, love it. On the whole competition thing, he does his thing, I do my thing. He does a lot of different things, and I kind of do my own thing. I am trying to get into other things, but this, and I think a lot of people, this isn't my full-time gig. You know, I have a day job. I work in IT basically, and I do this on the side. I do have a family. So, you know, it was more for a slow buildup of kind of a reputation where people could trust, you know, maybe I'm a decent person to deal with, and then slowly build it up, maybe for, I don't know, one day retirement, so I don't work at Walmart, right? I'm just, you know, I make my own schedule. I'm doing stuff for people, right? I mean, half kidding, but, you know, so I do some of these Jason get-ups. I have done some for myself. Obviously, I do a lot of this for myself as a test case. I was 6'2" at one time. I think I've, you know, Scott, as you know, we shrink with age, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably now I'm 6'1.5" or 6'1", I don't know. But you know, with boots and stuff, I can get up there. But the
You're still
Jason
taller.
stuff is fun, right? I do have a padded silicone muscle suit, and I have a padded suit I made myself, and all sorts of stuff. But you know, so I'll get in there, and you know, to me, like part 8, Jason. So I can do that. I have one that I've done for myself. It's all like, you know, how you get that wet look, right? That is painful, that process, by the way. Unless there's someone knows how to spray on silicone like that. I basically, you know, I went on mine and I did it with a popsicle stick.
Damn.
Kane Harder's even talked about how painful some of the stuff he's had to go through is Jason, and that's just
that is,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a long process right there.
Well, you know, you think of, okay, Chris, I know you've got some more. I know I got it real quick before I forget. Michael Myers. I hear so many fans with, as we all know, Michael has the mask and he has what he wears. Brad, from your professional opinion, naturally, with you working on the cover, is it jumpsuit, coveralls? What will you prefer to call them? I mean, what do you?
Sure. I love that question. It's a question that's it's something that's always bothered me when I hear it too. So I'm glad you asked that question. Yeah. So it's like when someone comes up to you and you're Michael Myers, if you're doing a cosplay, and someone goes, "Hey, Jason," right? Super irritating. Super irritating.
Yeah. Ex-girlfriends like that.
But going back to the coveralls, Man, they are coveralls, okay? Jumpsuits. If you look up jumpsuits, you're going to get women's clothing.
Makes
Jumpsuits.
sense.
I don't care. I'm not jumping in the suit, okay? And so I know people call them that. That's fine. Maybe people prefer it. Maybe they just don't know better. I don't know. But guess what? They're also not overalls because overalls don't have sleeves.
Chris and I would like to thank you for watching or listening to Meet Us in the Man Cave. Since you enjoyed watching us, make sure that you tell all your friends and family to subscribe to Meet Us in the Man Cave here on YouTube. Make sure you click on that notification bell. That way you're notified on our next video podcast or live stream video. Better yet, if you appreciate freedom of speech and oppose of censorship for content creators, make sure you follow Meet Us in the Man Cave on Rumble. Are you on Discord? Well, Meet Us in the Man Cave's there. Come and hang out with us. You can find and follow Meet Us in the Man Cave on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And as always, you can listen and download Meet Us in the Man Cave on your favorite podcasting app. Available to stream or download so you can listen all you want, whenever you want. For more information, go to meetusinthemancave.podbean.com.